Hey y'all, welcome back to Miniature Game Montage. I am Jimmy, and there's a lot of news about Necromunda right now. With the new edition coming out, I do have my pre-order in, but this week I wanted to focus on making another tile, and this time we are going to make the Hive Market. Now, as always with this video, I will be providing links to all of the files that I used. Those will be on my website. The vast majority of them are always going to be free. I try to look for those, and I do spend quite a bit of time researching how I want this build to go. And today you get to see the finished product. So stick around and I'll show you step by step how I printed, built, and painted this Hive Market tile. Alright, here's a look at the finished tile, and I went through a few iterations of what I wanted to do before I settled on this build. I knew I wanted something that was multi-layer. I started with wanting a more open concept. I did want that to kind of happen on that first floor. I wanted to keep some Zone Mortalis elements as well, but also trying to get a market on a single 12 by 12 tile felt really restrictive. And I may expand this into another 12 by 12 tile in the future. Now, the base of the build is on 2-inch insulation foam that you can get from Home Depot or Lowe's, and then these 4 tiles that I always use, I've glued those down and then put some books on there to really flatten them out as that glue dries. You are going to want to pre-clip some of these nubs off with your sprue clippers to make room, as the Zone Mortalis style walls that we're putting down, these in particular have flat bottoms and do not sit evenly if you don't do so. Now again, you'll see files for everything on my website there, including some affiliate links if you need some PLA or anything like that. If you use those affiliate links, that will help me out. These are some of the more expensive videos that I produce, as there's certainly cost into using all of the PLA and everything else. Of course, that's totally optional. I will say it has been really awesome to see a lot of the comments on people that are following along with these builds and building similar tiles. I receive comments all the time from people that are doing something similar and using these tiles that I'm building for some vision. We are going to use 3 Zone Mortalis style columns, and these do easily snap into place, but I am going to glue them down. Up next, I found some altered walls that have holes cut out in them, and again, you can see how the bottom is flat. That is why we trim those nubs. But this I thought would be really good for some market stalls, if you will, that kind of have that Zone Mortalis vibe to them. I also found these signs. This is from a separate kit, and again, links will be on my website, but I figured I would attach these on here as they're going to look really nice. This side is going to be more for weapons, and then I found another side for like first aid or meds or something like that. I thought these were cool. These are specifically from the Container Shop's add-on file, so I did kit bash a little bit, if that's what you want to call it, between some files that were available. We'll take this and glue it into place, and if I had to guess, I would say this is probably about 1 millimeter too long, as it was a really tight squeeze between these 2 columns. Normally it shouldn't be like this. I think the file just may be a little too long, but it did squeeze down and actually fit without putting too much pressure on the columns. You can see how the wall almost doesn't want to fit in between these 2 columns, and I did have this issue when I was kind of pre-fitting everything as well, so I did get it jammed in there, nothing fell off, everything looked to be fine. Now this creator also made single walls as well, so we are going to do the same thing. I did not put a sign on this one, but we are going to put that one right here. Up next, we start to build the second layer, and I do grab a 5-piece notched walkway in the files. And for some of these, you may need to rotate them either on the X-axis or the Y-axis to get the shape that you need. But I am looking for this kind of L shape, where I want the stairs to have a little bit of room to go up. Next, I grab an 8-piece, and I will put that on the next column, really giving us a lot of room up there where we're going to put one of our container shops. Next, we'll use a 4-piece, and I am trying to prevent any overhang on the shop side on the bottom level. So these are hanging on the other side where we're creating that little bit of space on the second level. And as you can see, I'm trying to leave that market space down below open. Up next, I did pre-glue 2 of these stairs together so they would be ready, along with the foundation, and we're going to attach that into the hole there where it goes, where I left that little bit of space open. We're then going to use a container, and if you're using the file that I did, this has a lot of add-ons that are in a separate file, and I printed the small variation of the container because this is going on the second level. I didn't want it to take up a tremendous amount of space. But there is in the add-ons pack a little shop front that you can add to this, along with numerous other things. There's signs, there's different bits and bobs you can put on here, roof vents, fans. It's really customizable, and you can print this container in a lot of different sizes. These containers are also stackable, so this is a great file to have on hand, but we're going to put this on the second level and be sure that our characters have room to walk around as well. That is why I chose this spot. But up next, I do find these market stalls as well. These are in 3 pieces and have to be glued together. They can be a little fiddly, but with some super glue, just let them fully dry and you're good to go. They have a small and a large variety, and I'm just going to set these up right now just to show you what the layout is going to look like. We are going to remove them and paint, and I'm going to paint these separately just because it's going to make things a little easier to get in and paint things. So I used a large and a small at the bottom. I also put a large and a small at the top to really kind of give us that market vibe. And with that, the base of our market tile is complete, and you can really go nuts here, adding whatever greebles and whatever other things that you would like to add. I did have this little cat demon thing printed out, so I'm going to put him in this cage that I 3D printed. This is in the Pet Supplies add-on file. But this is also when you can go around adding barrels, boxes. I do go ahead and add on some rails because, always need to be worried about safety when you're in the Hive. But there's so many of these files available that I'm not going to list them all. I'll try to find the ones that I use, but these are just kind of files that I have on hand. I randomly grab and print them up and we'll throw them on. A good example would be this pallet of batteries that I have on hand, and I think this is from Mini Wargaming's Ruins of Perdition, and it's just something that I had laying around. I already had it printed and thought that it would look cool on this build. Okay, next up we want to add just a little bit of grit. I've got the boxes and things glued down. I have removed the shop awnings and all that stuff, and I'm just going to throw some glue down in various spots. We're going to hit that with some sand just to give a little bit of grit and texture, just so it's not all solid. This is where you could apply any mud or anything like that, depending on what you want this section of the Hive to look like. With some railings added, I leave this to dry for the night, and we're going to pick it up the next morning. We're going to finish painting this thing up, and it actually goes by pretty quickly, as I have started using an airbrush. You could use rattle cans for this as well, but this Galeri 0.4mm airbrush is what I have been using, and I absolutely love it. I know I've said that in a lot of my videos, but this just continues to be an airbrush that I come back to, and I've got an affiliate link if you want to check those out. It's all from my website, but if you're doing terrain or if you're just looking to get used to using an airbrush, use it on terrain before you try to do it on miniatures, and all I'm doing right now is giving kind of a zenithal highlight, if you will, with some white before we go in and start to paint these awnings. But yeah, this airbrush is super user-friendly. I'm using the Warpaint's air range, so I don't even thin them down. I just put them straight in there and spray it out to make sure that it's coming out okay. And I'll start hitting the awnings with some skeleton bone, and for some of them I use like a sand type of color. I rip through those in just a minute or two, and then I move on to the railing. I try to get this first because if we have any spillover, we'll cover it up in later steps, but I use Demonic Yellow, which is Warpaint's Air, and I'm just going to go around and get the railings. I like my railings to be yellow because, safety reasons. But in all seriousness, it does give a little bit of pop to the other terrain to have this in different colors, and we're just trying to give this a good once-over. Up next, I've got plate mail metal, and I'm going to run this down the vertical and horizontal seams of the tiles. I'm also going to use this color to kind of go over the grates as well as the corner pieces that I want to be silver, and those you can tell are on that second floor. Again, this 0.4mm nozzle airbrush just gives it a nice wide spray. It is absolutely perfect for terrain, and I really can't recommend it enough. Up next, I grab Iron Wolf, and this is going to form the foundation layer, if you will, of the tile. So starting from kind of the center of the squares, I'm going to start spraying there and then working my way outward towards those metallics that I put down. And you can kind of see how quickly I'm moving from square to square. This doesn't need to be perfect. What we're looking for is a very rough looking finish, because that's exactly how it would be. And you can kind of see the light's not the best, but you can see how I'm just quickly filling in those tiles, moving on to the next one. In real time, I probably had this entire tile painted up with paint changes and everything in 30 minutes, and that is really saying something. What you can do with an airbrush, I'm really blown away with it when it comes to terrain. It is just such a time saver. Now I've gone through and gotten all the floor and all of the walls as well. I'm now going to grab Barren Yellow. I'm going to go over some of those sand spots to kind of help them stand out a little bit, kind of like grime and dirt that's built up on the floor. And this takes really just a minute. Up next, you can pick whatever color you want here. I actually let my daughter pick what color she wanted this to be, and I think she picked Gremlin Green, so that's the color that we are going to paint the container. So again, quickly going over that with the airbrush. This can be red, blue, green, whatever you would like to make it. Now, up next, we're going to go to simulating some of that light source that's hitting the center of the tiles, and for this one I use Necrotic Flesh, and it's very close to Hive Ash, but I'm going to go around the center of the tiles and just kind of give this a really quick blast. I'm also going to get the center of the columns and the walls as well, just to give it a little bit of variation. Okay, with the basis of the tile done, I flip up to some of these acrylic markers, and these are from AK Interactive. I've had these for years, and they are still putting out paint. And I'm just going to go through and give some very quick highlights. If you find that your railing or whatever was maybe a little too light, maybe you didn't get enough paint on it, I'm going to go through and give those just a very quick once-over with these markers. I'm also going to get some of the barrels in red and in green. I go in and do some quick highlights of silver over those barrels. These markers are just really useful to have on hand. These markers are also really handy just to do some quick highlights. I also use them to paint the palettes, throw on some very quick and crude hazard stripes. You can do this with an airbrush as well, but these just look really crude to me, which is kind of how I envision them. I then apply some rust effects just randomly all over, some oozing vomit as well, just for that grime and making it real dirty. This is best applied just straight from the bottle and then lightly spread around. And after that black has dried in just a few minutes, I'll tighten up those hazard stripes. We will glue back down our awning pieces, and then I am going to go around and give a really quick brown wash to the awnings themselves, and also to the yellows to really kind of tinge those down a little bit. And that's really it for this one, and I really hope that you like the way that this looks. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Again, files will all be on my website, so you can reference those. Maybe you'll want to build something similar and put your own variation or twist on it. But this is the third tile that we now have complete, and I'm looking forward to doing another. So, hey, if you have any questions, just let me know down in the comments below. Alright, that's all I've got for you this week. This entire process is pretty painless. It is all passive terrain, which I really like. That for me is when I set my printers to go, I can go to work and I come home and I've got pieces of terrain ready, and then I can just repeat that process. And throughout the week, I come home to a lot of terrain that I can work with. It's something that works for me, may not necessarily work for everyone, but I do really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Supporters Club, your names are on the screen now, and that is by no means necessary. If you've watched the video this far, you've done more than enough to support the channel, so thank you so much. We will see you in the next one. Take care.